Smart English Studio.
Have you ever met someone from another country and wanted to ask about their culture, their food, their family, or their daily life, but you didn't know how to start?
Maybe you wanted to sound friendly and curious, but you were afraid of asking something too personal or saying something in the wrong way.
Today, we'll practice a natural English conversation between Eva and Luca, a new friend from Italy.
You'll hear useful phrases from meeting someone new, asking polite questions, talking about food, family, emotions, gestures, daily life, British culture, Italian culture, and speaking English with confidence.
Listen carefully, repeat the useful phrases, and try to imagine that you are part of this conversation.
Let's begin.
Hi, you must be Luca, right? I'm Eva. It's so nice to finally meet you. I've heard a little bit about you from our friend Sophie, but it's always better to sit down and have a real conversation.
Hi, Eva. Yes, I'm Luca. It's very nice to meet you too. Sophie told me about your English podcast, so I was a little nervous before coming here.
Really? You don't need to be nervous at all. This is just a friendly conversation.
I know, but when someone says podcast, suddenly I feel like I must speak like a professor.
That is very relatable. Many learners speak well in normal life, but when there is a microphone, their brain starts checking every word.
Exactly. I start thinking grammar, pronunciation, accent, vocabulary, and then I forget the simple words.
That happens to so many people. But today, we are not looking for perfect English. We are practicing real English. Friendly, natural, useful conversation.
Good. I like that. Real conversation is not perfect anyway. Even in Italian, people pause, repeat, interrupt, and use their hands too much.
That's actually one of the things I wanted to ask you about. Italian gestures.
Of course, you cannot talk about Italy without hands.
We will definitely talk about that. But first, let's start naturally. Luca, where are you from originally?
I'm from Italy. I grew up near Florence, but I've also lived in Milan for work. Florence feels historic, artistic, and beautiful. Milan feels faster, more modern, and more business-focused.
Florence sounds amazing. When I think of Florence, I imagine old streets, art, beautiful buildings, cafes, and a lot of history.
Yes, that's a good image. Florence is full of history. You can walk through the city and feel that many people lived, worked, painted, wrote, and built beautiful things there. It feels like an open-air museum sometimes.
That's a lovely phrase, an open-air museum. Listeners, if a city is full of historic buildings and beautiful streets, you can say, it feels like an open-air museum.
Exactly. You can say Florence feels like an open-air museum, or Rome feels like an open-air museum.
And what about Milan?
Milan is different. It is modern, stylish, busy, and very connected to fashion, design, business, and work. People move quickly. The rhythm is faster.
So Florence is more historic and romantic, while Milan is more modern and fast-paced.
Yes, exactly. But both cities have great food, of course.
Of course, we cannot forget food.
Never. That would be impossible.
When you came to the UK, what was one of the first cultural differences you noticed?
The first thing I noticed was how calm people can seem. In Italy, people often speak with more emotion, more movement, more facial expression, more hands. In the UK, people can be very polite and calm even when they are annoyed.
That's very true. British people often hide strong feelings behind polite phrases.
Yes, that was confusing at first. Someone could say, that's not ideal, and I had to learn that maybe it means this is actually quite bad.
Exactly. British English can be very indirect. That's not ideal can mean many things, from a small problem to a disaster.
In Italy, if something is a disaster, we may show it more clearly.
With words or with hands?
Both.
I love that. So Italian communication can feel more expressive.
Yes, often. Of course, everyone is different, but in general, people may use more emotion in the voice, more gestures, and more direct reactions. If we are happy, you can see it. If we are frustrated, maybe you can see that too.
In Britain, people may feel frustrated but still say no worries.
Yes, that phrase confused me. No worries, but sometimes there are definitely worries.
That is so true. No worries can mean it's fine, but sometimes it means I'm trying to be polite.
Exactly. British politeness is like another language inside English.
That's a great sentence. British politeness is like another language inside English.
For learners, it really can feel that way.
Let's teach a few useful phrases. If someone says that's not ideal, it may mean there is a problem.
If someone says, I'll think about it, it may mean yes, maybe, or no.
And if someone says interesting, you need to listen to the tone.
Yes, interesting can be dangerous.
Very dangerous.
In Italian, maybe we are more obvious. If we like something, we say it. If we don't like something, sometimes we also say it.
That sounds refreshing.
It can be refreshing, but it can also sound too direct in English if you are not careful.
That's an important point. Directness can feel honest in one culture, but too strong in another.
Exactly. I had to learn softer English phrases for work, especially in emails and meetings.
What kind of phrases?
Instead of saying this is wrong, I learned to say, I'm not sure this is quite right. Instead of saying I don't like this idea, I learned to say, I'm not sure this is the best option.
Those are very useful. They sound professional and polite.
Yes, at first it felt strange. I thought, why don't we just say the thing?
That is a very fair question.
But then I understood that soft language can protect the relationship. It helps people disagree without making the conversation uncomfortable.
Exactly. Polite English is not about being fake. It is about keeping the conversation respectful.
Yes, I agree with that.
Now, let's talk about food because I know everyone watching will expect it.
Yes, if I come from Italy and we don't talk about food, people will be disappointed.
Exactly. So, if someone has never been to Italy, what food would you recommend?
That is a very dangerous question because Italian food changes from region to region. People often think only of pizza and pasta, but Italy has so much more: risotto, seafood, soups, cheeses, cured meats, desserts, regional breads, and many local dishes.
That's a great point. People outside a country often imagine one simple version of the food, but real food culture is much more diverse.
Exactly. Food in the north can be very different from food in the south. Even two nearby towns can argue about the correct way to make a dish.
That sounds very serious.
It is serious. Very serious.
So if I say I love pineapple on pizza, should I leave the room?
Eva, this is a friendly podcast, so I will stay polite. But yes, maybe.
I knew it. I knew this would happen.
I'm joking. Well, mostly joking.
That's a good natural moment. Listeners, joking about food can be fun, but be careful. Some food opinions are emotional.
Especially pizza.
Especially pizza.
But seriously, Italian food is often about simple ingredients, good quality, family traditions, and not overcomplicating things.
That's a beautiful description. Simple ingredients, good quality, and family traditions.
Yes, sometimes the best food is very simple. Good tomatoes, good olive oil, good bread, good pasta. You don't always need many ingredients.
In Britain, food culture can be different. We have traditional meals like Sunday roast, fish and chips, pies, and afternoon tea. But British food has changed a lot because of international influences.
Yes, I noticed that. In the UK, you can find food from many countries: Indian, Chinese, Italian, Turkish, Thai, Polish, and many more.
That's true. British food culture is very mixed now.
I like that. It means you can try something new every week.
Definitely. Now, in Italy, is food connected to family?
Very much. In many families, meals are not just about eating. They're about sitting together, talking, sharing news, arguing a little, laughing, and staying connected.
Arguing a little?
Yes, but with love.
That sounds very Italian.
Maybe. In some families, everyone speaks at the same time, and somehow everyone understands.
That is impressive.
It is a skill.
In Britain, meal times can be quieter depending on the family. Some families talk a lot, but others are more reserved.
Yes, I noticed that. British people can be more private. They may not share everything immediately.
That's true. Many British people value personal space and privacy.
In Italy, people may ask more questions, especially family members. Are you eating enough? Are you working too much? When are you coming home? Why are you so thin? Why are you so tired?
That sounds familiar from many cultures.
Yes, it comes from love, but sometimes you think, please, one question at a time.
That's a useful phrase, one question at a time.
Very useful with family.
Let's talk about gestures. Many people say Italians use their hands when they speak. Is that true in your experience?
Yes, many Italians use gestures naturally. Not everyone is the same, of course, but gestures are common. Sometimes the hands help express emotion, meaning, or attitude.
So gestures are part of communication.
Exactly. They can add meaning. Sometimes one gesture can say what 5 words would say.
That's fascinating. In Britain, people use gestures too, but maybe less dramatically.
Yes, maybe British gestures are more controlled.
Controlled is a good word.
Italian gestures can be more expressive, but we don't always notice we are doing it.
So if you sit on your hands, can you still speak Italian?
That would be very difficult.
I love that.
Maybe possible, but emotionally painful.
That's a great phrase. Emotionally painful.
Yes, no gestures, no joy.
Now, let's make this useful for learners. If you want to ask about gestures politely, you can say, "Are gestures common where you're from?"
Or, do people use a lot of body language when they speak?
Good. And you can ask, "Is that gesture polite or rude?"
Very important. Some gestures can mean different things in different countries.
Exactly. Never assume a gesture means the same thing everywhere.
Yes, body language is cultural too.
Now, what do you miss most about Italy?
I miss my family, the food, the weather, walking through old streets, and the feeling of being completely natural in my own language.
That last one is very important. Many learners say they feel like a smaller version of themselves in English.
Yes, exactly. In Italian, I can be funny, emotional, quick, direct, and expressive. In English, sometimes I feel slower.
That's such a common feeling. Learners think, "I'm not boring, I just can't express my full personality yet."
Yes, sometimes my personality arrives 5 seconds after the conversation.
That is a perfect sentence.
It's true. I think of the perfect joke, but the moment is already gone.
That happens in another language. Timing is hard.
Yes, but I've learned that it gets better with practice.
Absolutely. Fluency is not only grammar, it is speed, confidence, rhythm, and comfort.
Exactly, and you need real conversations for that.
Now, what helped you become more confident speaking English?
I think accepting mistakes helped me. At first, I wanted every sentence to be correct, but then I realized that communication matters more. If people understand me, that is already a success.
That's a very important lesson. Communication first, perfection later.
Yes. Also, I learned useful phrases that help me continue when I need time. Like what? Let me think. Or, how can I explain this? Or, what I mean is, or, in my experience, or, it depends. These phrases give me time and structure.
Excellent. Those are conversation tools.
Yes, without them, I panic more easily.
That makes sense. Prepared phrases reduce panic.
Exactly.
Let's talk about daily life. What does a normal day look like for many people in Italy?
It depends on the person and the city, of course, but many people start with coffee. Coffee is important in Italy. A quick espresso at the bar can be part of the morning routine.
At the bar? For British learners, that might sound like alcohol in the morning.
Yes, that can be confusing. In Italy, a bar often means a cafe where you can have coffee, pastries, snacks, maybe lunch, not only alcohol.
That's a great cultural note. So bar in Italy can mean something different from bar in English.
Exactly. If I say I had breakfast at the bar, I mean coffee and maybe a pastry, not a party.
Very important clarification.
Very important.
What kind of coffee do people usually drink?
Many people drink espresso. Cappuccino is common in the morning, but many Italians don't drink cappuccino after lunch.
Oh, that is another famous Italian rule.
Yes, but don't worry. If you are a visitor and you want cappuccino in the afternoon, the world will survive.
That's reassuring.
But someone may judge you quietly.
So Italy also has silent judgment?
Yes, especially about coffee and food.
Good to know.
But generally, coffee is a small daily ritual. It's quick, social, and part of the rhythm of the day.
That phrase is lovely, part of the rhythm of the day.
Yes, coffee is not only a drink, it's a pause.
In Britain, tea can be like that. Tea is also a pause.
So Britain has tea pauses and Italy has coffee pauses.
Exactly.
International friendship through hot drinks.
Always. Now, what surprised you about British culture?
The politeness, the queuing, and the way people say sorry.
Very classic British topics.
Yes, people say sorry a lot, even when it is not their fault.
That is true. Someone can bump into you and you say sorry.
That confused me. I thought, why are you apologizing? I walked into you.
British sorry can mean many things. It can mean I apologize, but also, excuse me, I noticed you, or let's keep this polite.
That makes sense now. At first, I thought everyone was guilty.
That is very funny.
In Italy, people apologize too, of course, but British people use sorry in more situations.
Yes, sorry is almost a social tool here.
A social tool, I like that.
And what about queuing?
British people are very serious about queues. In Italy, queues exist, of course, but sometimes the energy can be more flexible.
Flexible is a very polite word.
Yes, I am learning British style.
Very good. Flexible is much softer than chaotic.
Exactly.
In the UK, if you jump the queue, people may not shout, but you will feel the atmosphere change.
Yes, silent judgment again.
Silent judgment is a strong British force.
Maybe stronger than words.
Now, if someone wants to ask about Italy politely, what questions are good?
Good questions are open and respectful. You can ask, where are you from originally? What is your hometown like? What do you miss most about Italy? What food do you recommend? Or what do you wish more people knew about Italian culture?
Those are excellent. They let the person answer from their own experience.
Yes, it is better to ask, do all Italians do this? Because no country is one simple story.
Exactly. No country is one simple story.
And no person is only their nationality.
Beautiful. That is a very important reminder.
Thank you.
What do you wish more people knew about Italy?
I wish more people knew that Italy is not only pizza, pasta, and holidays. Of course, we love food and beauty, but Italy is also work, family, regional differences, history, creativity, problems, politics, daily routines, and normal people trying to live their lives.
That's a strong answer. People often see the postcard version of a country, not the everyday version.
Exactly. The postcard is beautiful, but real life has bills, traffic, work emails, and laundry.
Laundry again, in every country.
Yes, laundry is universal.
That may be true. Now, let's do some practical conversation practice. Imagine I meet you at a cafe and I want to start a friendly conversation.
Okay, let's do it.
Hi, I don't think we've met before. I'm Eva.
Hi, I'm Luca. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Are you new here?
Yes, I'm quite new. I'm still getting used to everything.
How are you finding life here so far?
I like it. It's calmer than I expected, and people have been friendly.
That's good to hear. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Italy. I grew up near Florence.
Oh, beautiful. What is Florence like?
It's historic, artistic, and full of character. Sometimes it feels like an open-air museum.
That sounds wonderful. What do you miss most about home?
I miss my family, Italian food, the weather, and speaking naturally in my own language.
I'd love to learn more about Italian culture.
I'd be happy to tell you, and I'd love to learn more about British culture too.
Perfect. Maybe we can start with tea.
Or coffee.
Tea and coffee again. That sounds like a good friendship.
Definitely. But after this, I will teach you how to order coffee in Italy.
I feel nervous already.
Don't worry, I'll be kind.
Thank you. And that's the end of today's conversation. Today, we practiced how to meet a new friend from Italy, how to ask polite questions, and how to talk about food, family, gestures, emotions, British politeness, Italian culture, and confidence in English.
Remember, you don't need perfect English to start a conversation. You need useful phrases, patience, curiosity, and a little courage.
Use these phrases in your next English conversation.
And don't forget, connection is more important than perfection.
Thank you for listening to Smart English Studio.
Learn smarter, speak better.
See you in the next lesson.